Devotion to the mercy of God was something that became very popular during the 20th century. Pope St. John Paul II promoted divine mercy far and wide, coming from a Polish context after the apparitions of Jesus, the revelations of Jesus to Saint Faustina in Poland in the early parts of the 20th century. The second Sunday of Easter is referred to as the Sunday of Divine Mercy. However, as the book of Ecclesiastes tells us today, that nothing is new under the sun. In 1831, Catherine Macaulay founded the Sisters of Mercy in Ireland and started a religious community that was dedicated to the mercy of God. You go right throughout history, there have been a number of points where the mercy of God, and especially Mary under the title of Our Lady of Mercy, has had resurgence or has grown quite significantly. And we're very blessed in our own community here in Cronulla to have the Sisters of Mercy, who are working for Christ within our community to bring that mercy of Christ into the midst of our community, to those who are sick, to those who are disadvantaged, to those who need education. And they do this not because of something that happened in the last 10 years or the last 20 years. The mercy of God's been there since the very beginning, as the book of Ecclesiastes says. There's nothing new under the sun, except at different times we use different language. So in 1831, Catherine Macaulay starts to use this language of mercy and forms a community based upon mercy. And it's a fantastic thing. I find it wonderful to study history. You've probably gathered this a little bit from some of my homilies at times. And I think every age, as this psalm told us today, in every age God is there to help us, to lift us up, to be our refuge. And we can study history and we can learn from the things of the past. Things repeat themselves. We're at the moment in the midst of a pandemic, but this is not the first time there's been a pandemic. We know in our own country's history, you only have to go back just on 100 years, and we had the Spanish flu, and you go back at other moments in history as well. I've talked about some of this before. At times I get a little discouraged, think, well, what's going to become of the church? And I sort of think, well, we're not getting that many young families really involved at the moment, and we're really trying, but will there be a future for the church? But when you look at the history, when I look at the history, you can see that sometimes there is a pattern, there is a cycle of this. Sometimes the church gets very close to almost death, and then the church sort of rises up again. Because the church is not about us, it's about God, and God is merciful. Here we have in this gospel, we have Herod, who thought John the Baptist had been killed. He knew that John the Baptist had been killed. He killed him himself. But then the way he reacts to Jesus is we're told by Luke that he was puzzled by Jesus, and then he was anxious to see Jesus. Deep down, if we're honest, and every person is honest, when you hear and you see the work of Jesus Christ, especially the work of mercy, there is an anxiety, a desire deep within each person to discover who this Jesus Christ is. Let us today renew our commitment to being instruments of God's mercy within our community, after the example of the Sisters of Mercy. And when people engage with the work of Jesus Christ, something is happening deep down within them. Even as it happened with Herod, let us be today these instruments of mercy for others, so that others will be anxious to discover Jesus, to find who Jesus is, and to come deeply to that faith in Jesus Christ, the divine mercy. Our Lady of Mercies, pray for us.